Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Digital Den mini class. Today, we are going to be continuing this series of how to cartoonize yourself in Photoshop. But today, we're going to be looking at video games, going to make ourselves look like we're old school video game characters. Let's dive into it. Alrighty, so here we are back in Photoshop. In the last video, we made ourselves look like we were painted, and in the first couple of videos, we made ourselves look super wacky and very cartoonish. But today, we're going to be doing something else entirely, and we are going to be using a different picture of myself that I took that is a little bit more animated here, because we want to get some good movement going on here. So I'm going to open up my picture to this basketball picture of myself, rocking my Go Jessica shirt as I am in this picture supporting my friend Jessica Green for the Bonavista basketball game. And so what we are going to do is we're going to pixelate ourselves to be able to make it look like we're in like an old school Super Nintendo game, right? Maybe like Street Fighter or something like that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, I got to get rid of this background here. So I'm going to double click on my layer here, and I'm just going to hit OK on that. And I am going to come up here to properties on the right and scroll all the way down to the bottom and hit remove background. And it is going to remove that. It did a pretty decent job, but you'll see that my arm is gone. So I've got to paint that back in there. And it looks like it screwed up my shoe down here. But other than that, looks like it did a pretty good job. So the way that we paint back in, as I've mentioned in other videos, you've got this mask layer on top of here, and you use the brush tool and white and black to be able to remove and replace things. So the white tool brings things back in. So I'm going to bring my arm back in here. I'm going to up the size of my brush here to make it a little easier on me. There we go. Okay. That looks pretty good. I've got my arm back in here, and now my shoe is a little bit messed up, and it looks like there is a spot down here we need to get rid of. So I'm going to go to black, and I'm going to zoom in on my picture here. I'm going to hold Alt, and then I'm just going to scroll on the mouse wheel exactly where I would like to be able to look, and then I need to add some stuff back in. I'm going to change the brush size here by using the left and right bracket on my keyboard. And I'm going to add a little bit back in there. Now I need to go back in and I need to remove. So we're just going to remove this around the outside there. Okay. And I would say that that looks pretty good. So I'm going to zoom back out here. I think that that looks pretty darn good. So now we have no background as of right now, but we will find something fun online to be able to put ourselves in front of shortly. But first, we need to convert our image into a smart object. So we're going to right click and convert to smart object. Now what we can do is we can start using these filters. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go over to the filter gallery. And there are a number of different filter options that could work for us here. The dry brush one could work pretty well. So we could come in and we could adjust our brush size here, lower that a little bit here, and lower the brush detail around there. That could work for us. So we could do it that way. And I recommend that you come in and you explore some of these different options here. And there are a lot of them that you can play around with here. And we've just really dove into the artistic ones here. But I mean, you can jump into the brush strokes, the distort ones, the sketch options here, which water paper could actually work pretty well for us. Why don't we use water paper for this here? Yeah, I think this is actually going to work pretty good. Let's make sure that our brightness is a little bit, I don't want for the shadows to be too strong there, but I also don't want it to be too blown out. I would say we're right where we're at right there is pretty good. What does fiber length do for us? Okay, let's make the fiber length, just kind of playing around with this a little bit. 10 looks pretty good. And then where are we at with contrast? I think where we were with 80 looks pretty good with that. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. This is not the one I planned on using, but taking a look at it, it looks pretty good. Stylize and texture have quite a few more options here that we could go for. What's mosaic tiles? Rain. Yeah, I think we're just going to stick with the water paper option there. We're going to hit OK. Now that's going to basically take a lot of the detail out of this and kind of pixelate ourselves a little bit, but we're not done. We are going to go back into filter here and we're going to look at the Pixelate tab here. And there's a number of different options here and they all do very different things. Now, when we think of pixels, at least when I do, I think of like old school video games. We're talking Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and even some, you know, as far as Nintendo 64 or PlayStation, whatever, you know, old school games where you worked in anywhere between 8, 16, and 32-bit pixels. So the function that we're going to use is mosaic. And that is going to pixelate us. The more squares that we have, the more pixely that we're going to get. So you'll see that looks very, very heavily pixelated there. So we're actually going to go for just a very few squares here. I think that maybe somewhere between like 7 and 8. Let's see, 7. A little bit more detail there. Let's go down to 6 and see what that looks like. Whoops, 6. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So ultimately, that's going to be what we're going to do. But before we grab that, let's take a look at what some of the other Pixelate options would do for us. So if we click on the Pointilize one here, you can see it does some pixelation there for us. Let me zoom out here so we can see all of me. But it does it in a different way. It's like it's making like these strangely colored dots. That's not really what we're looking for. But you could be for your art project. Another one is called the Mezzotint. And this is also going to give us some different dotted lines here. Under the dot ones, we can change them to lines to give yourself a little bit of like, I don't know, more of like an old school, like VHS sort of pixelation there almost. Or even like an anime kind of look a little bit there. So we can do that. Alrighty, and then under pixelation here, we've also got a couple other options here. Crystallization, this is going to allow for us to be able to give us a little bit more of a stylized pixelation here. And the higher number that you go, the fewer color options that you have there. So we're just going to go ahead and use the pixelation that we were talking about, the mosaic. Here, we're going to go to 6 squares and we're going to hit OK on that. And honestly, I feel like this looks pretty good. Like, I feel like that we look pretty awesome, but we need to get ourselves a background to be able to put ourselves onto. So let's go ahead and open up on my folder here. I've got a couple of background options here. I have a Mario, but I think what I'm going to do is this video game background that I found online. And we are going to open that. Cool. So now I can just copy myself in here, make myself big enough here for this. And you don't have to worry about sizing because we're going for a pixel look for this. So that is pretty good there. And then I need somebody to go against, right? So I already did this on a different style here. This is actually one of my engagement photos. I edited this heavily, but my wife and I had our engagement photos at a haunted house. So that was fun. But let's pixelate this a little bit more here. Pixelate, mosaic, and let's go 5 squares on this one. And then let's copy this character into our background here as well. We will size them up appropriately. Okay. And I feel like our character here is still not pixely enough. So that's a pretty good size there. Pixelate them a little bit more to be able to make it so that they are a little bit more in line with our other character there. That's too much. Back down to 15. Let's drop it down to 10. So we're just trying to match the detail level there. And I actually think that I need to go higher than where I was. Almost even higher. Yeah, I would say around 20 is pretty good. Pretty good here. So now we've got our two characters, and one's got an axe and one's got a basketball. Who is going to win in this video game style battle? We'll have to find out in, who knows, maybe another video. I don't know. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I highly recommend that you keep playing around in the filter options here. There's a ton more stuff. I mean, you could come in and you could add some noise. You could add some blur in here. Distort is really fun. Like I could turn my character and make them all like super wavy if I want. You just never know what you're going to get. So give that a try and have some fun in Photoshop. If you've got any other questions, stop on by the Digital Den. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.